Hey there, everybody. I hope you are doing well. I am a FAFO with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. If you're new to the channel, you just landed here, I'm glad to have you. I hope you stick around and hit that like and hopefully subscribe button. Also, remember to hit the notification bell for those of you who are subscribed. I thank all my new subscribers as well as those who've been with me a really long time. The channel is starting to grow a little bit, and I'm deeply, deeply appreciative for it. I'm going to make this one short and sweet, you all. Two things I want to look at today. One, Donald Trump is making some real missteps, Spirit is telling me, around his Christian base, the MAGA Christian base. He has now appointed this woman. I didn't know anything about her. Maybe you did or didn't. This Paula White Kane. She has now been appointed as the White House head of the White House Faith Office. Okay. And but this is interesting, you all, because remember when Pam Bondi got confirmed. Remember, she was ready, had a slew of initiatives that she announced, most of which were in direct contrast and contradiction to what she testified before the committee, the Senate committee. But we knew that was coming. Like, at this point, nobody's surprised, right? They're going to do whatever they got to do to get in and then do what they were told to do before they got in. All right, so Pam Bondi's in charge. One of her initiatives now is the Anti-Christian Bias Task Force. She is assembling that, or has assembled that Anti-Christian Bias Task Force. Now, clearly, writing on the wall with that is to try and, with all of these other land grabs, the tariffs that didn't go right, the Greenland and Panama and now Gaza, all of these international, issues that Donald Trump has been raising off the cuff, and his base are saying, wait, what? When did we talk about that? When did any of that, was that in any of the speeches on the campaign trail, right? It was about our money, our economy, our local communities, that you were going to come in and make real change for us. So they are not happy. But this Paula White situation with the White House Task Force, they are up in arms about that, you all, because apparently Ms. Paula White Kane, televangelist, one of these prosperity preachers, right? Many of you or evangelists. So her whole thing is, if you're not rich, it's because you're not giving enough. You're not doing enough in the name of the church so that God would bless you, right? Like a whole mind game. And the Christian faithful are coming out and saying heretic, like they are ticked off. Also, because remember, part of this whole J.D. Vance, the Peter Thiels, real strong Catholics, part of this whole religious aspect of this movement that they're doing, this ultra-conservative extremist movement, is based on the preeminence of the white male. So here you bringing in Paula White, who nobody's taken seriously, and her messaging. Apparently she got married as a teenager, got pregnant, got married as a teenager, had a couple of marriages, however has also had a condo in Trump Tower for over 20 years. Also, apparently, allegedly, for entertainment purposes only, he has been she and Trump have been connected for a very long time. Back, in to the early 2000s, from what I saw. I didn't do a lot of research, just a little bit, but apparently, according to one source, he would even fly her out to Atlantic City to consult with him spiritually, and that she has been a big force in converting Trump to Christianity. Yeah, let's just breeze. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee on that one. But what I want to look at, you all, is the idea that now he's setting up this anti-Christian bias task force. He's getting in their heads and trying to remind them, yeah, you see what I'm doing, but also listen to what I'm saying. That's what got you. That's what got me your votes to begin with, right? It wasn't even about what I had done, these crimes that I had been convicted of, even, right, and all of the other federal crimes that Jack Smith and Fonnie Willis, etc. all of that aside, and all of that was happening while I was campaigning, I managed to get you to look away from that so that you would just listen to what I'm telling you. Now I'm going to tell you that you are under attack. As Christians, you're under attack. So I'm going to be your protector. I'm going to do these, I'm going to implement these procedures and these task force to make sure that you are protected. Spirit is saying, there's, woke, although they detest that term. Yeah, they're waking up to some things, but let me take a look at it, you all. And then secondly, I'm going to look at the trans issue. There's a lot happening right there. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, I have the Three of Swords. Regret. Regret all across the board. They're like, this is not, 150%. This is not what we talked about. This is not what you told us you were going to do. Spirit, will there be, how is this going to play out with Paula White and his Christian base? Death. Ooh. Okay. Spirit, speak on it. A lot of people are going to pull their support, you all. I'm not seeing like there's going to be some mass protests and things like that. I think it's going to be done perhaps quietly, where people are just turning away, just absolutely turning away. But that will show up in 2026. Four of Swords, this clarity and this time to step back. So yes, thank you, Spirit. They're confirming. We're not going to see some massive, pastors of America uniting against Trump. Like we know it's not going to go down like that. But they are in a space of almost like, how could he? There's a Spirit, are they feeling betrayed? Do they recognize the level of betrayal in this? The Hierophant, thank you, Spirit, looking at him as their leader. And also the Hierophant is a deeply faith-based and spiritual card. So we're definitely in the energy of this question, you all. The Hierophant very often can reflect our religious institutions, our spiritual leaders, etc. Those who, and not necessarily just Christianity, anyone whose advice we take, who has authority, ruled by Taurus, the Hierophant. So the values that we have, the traditions that we uphold. So we're definitely looking at the Christian faithful, and they are not with that Three of Swords and that Four of Swords. Even they're like shocked. We have the Sun, confirmation again, the Sun, and it did come reversed. I don't always read reversals, but I will in this instance. I think Spirit is saying reversed, as in this is not what this is not going to reflect and is not reflecting what we talked about, what we thought that you were going to genuinely do once we put you in office, and our efforts to put you in office. This is a betrayal. They keep giving me the word betrayal. The Magician, you you pulled the wool over our eyes. You pulled the wool over our eyes is what I'm getting, that a lot of his faithful, the MAGA faithful, and especially the Christian base, you pulled the wool over our eyes. And this is also saying back to the Pam Bondi, this anti-Christian bias task force. That's his next move, is to try and make them, reaffirm the fact. No. I know how it looks, but I got you, right? That's what that Magician energy is about. Spirit, what will happen as a result of this? Will there be a concerted effort in the church? We have the Emperor. And in this context, I do feel like this is Trump. And the Six of Wands. I hate to say it, you all, because Six of Wands is a card of what could be the potential for victory. But a six is, there's still a lot of work to do. This reminds me of, thank you, Spirit. This reminds me of what we're hearing. Many of us have heard about the Arabs in Dearborn, Michigan, who voted for him because they did not like Kamala Harris slash Biden's stance on Gaza, right? That they weren't being more forceful around Palestinian rights. And so they switched camps. He went to Michigan, as did she, during the campaign, and that was a real battleground area, and they did in fact vote for him. They have since come out and said, now with the whole his land grab for Gaza, displacement of Palestinians, that he has said, oh, it'll be fine. They have come out and said, many of them have come out and said, man, this was not it, right? But there's also many of them who have been quoted in sources anonymously because they're saying, we don't want to admit that we got took. We don't want to admit we got took. That's the energy that I see here happening again among the Christian faithful, you all. That victory card with him, the emperor, they don't want to admit the extent to which they've been duped. Really, they don't want to admit it. So again, what Spirit is saying is we're not going to see some mass movement or a lot of voices. People are not going to start going on Joe Rogan's podcast and dogging him out for his talk about anti-Christian bias. That's not going to happen. But I do feel, and Spirit is saying, I'm going to ask Spirit, is this discontent going to show up by 2026? And I know that's a long time out. We're going to be doing a lot of readings and looking into 2026. I feel like I didn't shuffle well enough. Hold on. We're going to see, but I want to look at specifically, even though we know how things can change, there's already, and this is going to have something to do with candidates, the pressure on GOP incumbents in red states with these large Christian populations that's going to be where the rubber meets the road for them, because right now we know they're laying down. They're like, whatever you say, because they feel under a threat. They feel like they don't have the power to resist. But when it's time for them to start getting back in front of their constituents, there's the moon. Thank you. Yes. I think we will see it, and we're going to see it when, especially incumbents, when it's time for them to start campaigning, and we're going to see it reflected in new candidates who run for office at the state level, even whether they're running for national office or not. But we're going to see this mood and this discontent within the Christian contingent reflected in candidates, and therefore the vote in 2026, the midterms. All right, y'all, moving on. I received a really and I wouldn't say the name even if I remembered it. You'll know who you are if you see this video. It touched me, an email from someone who said, Fefe, can you please, there's not a lot of readers out here who are addressing the transgender issue and the fact that, trans kids especially, but transgender people in general feel under attack, unsafe, and they even said, are we going to wind up being put in concentration camps? Everything in my spirit, went red alert on that, in terms of, first and foremost, the answer is no. The American people would not, just as you see, people's response and the courts responding to Doge and Musk, and there is a pushback. It's going to be slow. It's going to be a slog. But hey, let's be grateful for the fact that for now, the courts are standing up and stepping in and doing, we have recourse. So as it relates to transgender rights, I want to highlight, for those of you who did not hear about this or see this yet, Chris Hayes of MSNBC, he was on Bill Maher's Real Time, HBO. Bill Maher came, he does his little controversial topics thing, and he came out and raised the issue of, transgender healthcare and et cetera, whether or not his angle was Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party's willingness to champion causes like transgender rights, did that help cost them the election? Because, again, radical left and all of that. And Chris Hayes came straight out and said the conservatives need to stay the F out of transgender and their parents, and the population in general, stay out of their business. He came straight out and said, stay the F out their business. That's what I got to say about that. I was like, you go, Chris Hayes. I was talking to you all recently about MSNBC, say what you will. MSNBC is trying to hang in there as long as they can. We'll see what happens with the corporate interests and that at that side of it. But yeah, Chris Hayes took a stance, you all. He took a stance. So, and he even raised the issue. He said, look, so are you saying that, CIA agents, trans, can't get together and, people who were former women who are now CIA agents, they can't get together and have their support groups, right? All across the board. Yeah, it was really interesting. And I applaud Chris Hayes for it. So let's keep going with that. I want to take a look at that issue. And we have the Eight of Cups. People feeling, just like the person who wrote me, feeling, and the devil, that fear. Oh my gosh. You all, no matter how you feel about it, no matter whether that is, and there's the Strength card. It does come reversed. I'm going to leave it reversed. I'll show it to you in a minute. No matter how you feel about transgendered rights, right? Whether that's a part of your lived experience, whether that impacts anyone in your family, I do believe one of the terms that's being raised a lot now by Chris Hayes also and many others is with the attack on diversity, DEI, but anything related to diversity, and that becoming, a bad word, just like woke became a bad word, right? Pluralism is now the new phrase. Keep your eye out for more of that in terms of the messaging that the Democratic Party is going to have to do in terms of being, that inclusivity. Pluralism is going to be a term. And that will include transgendered people. The Knight of Swords. So there, thank you. Spirit is coming in to confirm. We will hear more messaging about that. I got the Eight of Cups. That was the first card that I pulled. And the Eight of Cups is a card of, some say withdrawal, meaning walking away from. I think this works a couple of ways. For people who are transgendered, it does feel like that the government and that different rights groups, progressives, may perhaps turn their backs on them because of the pressure to do so. That's what the devil is here for as well. I think the devil very often can come up when something, when there is an attachment, an unhealthy attachment, but also in this instance can reflect fears, fear of change, fear of being able to be who you are. It is a card that can very often indicate sexuality and sexual preference. So yes, and I feel like this is in almost a literal sense, or even maybe more metaphorical, is this for many decades, transgendered people felt like they were quote unquote demonized, right? And there's a fear of a return to that. But I did get the Strength card, and Strength did come reversed, but Strength has to do with character. It is ruled by Leo. It is about being willing to shine. Because it became reversed, says there are a lot of transgendered people and even leaders who have sort of fallen back. That's that Eight of Cups. Or they may be tempted to fall back and not shine, not show up because of the dangers, the perceived dangers. But I've got the Knight of Swords here. And Knights are movement, swords, communication, thinking, social media, messaging from the Democrats. I think there's going to be surprisingly a different kind of messaging. They just got to figure out what that is and the best way to proceed with it, the most effective way to proceed with it. Because remember, the Democratic Party in general is very concerned at this time with how they are going to position themselves to increase their messages to be more inclusive of a lot of people who went the other way. So it's not just the, lifelong progressives. It's not just the people who are still woke and proud of it. It is how do we broaden our reach? How do we rebrand in a way that it really, transgendered people of a pluralism, going back to pluralism, people of all walks of life, of all ethnicities, of all, LGBTQ, however you rock in this world, that you can rock with us, that we are reflective of who you are. That is going to take some time, you all. So for those who are a part of the transgender community, or families who have trans people in their families, kids, especially those with the whole gender affirming care that's under attack, all of that, I think there's a regrouping here that Spirit is saying we all have to do in our own, in our own prayers, our own capacity. And here he comes again, the Emperor. And I also feel like, I don't know, Spirit is saying, hold on, Fefe. This is leadership in general. They're telling me don't attribute this to Trump right now. This is leadership in general. And Hanged Man, I got it. Hanged Man is wait and see. There is some leadership that's coming. Let's remember the bishop out of DC who stood up and made that as a part of her presentation. She took a lot of heat for it. But remember that there are leaders who are going to come out in favor. Seven of Wands, a card of courage. Stand your ground. So to that person and many others who I think are feeling that way, how far is this attack against us going to be? Certainly not to the extreme of concentration camps. Cancel that, not happening. But there is new leadership somewhere on the horizon. I can't see how soon, but between that Emperor, Seven of Wands, the Hangman regrouping, Seven of Swords, don't let yourself be deceived, and the Ten of Pentacles. This reminds me of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's talk that she gave. We've talked about that a lot. That they are outnumbered. There are more of us than them. So whether you're talking about the LGBTQ community, and plus I should say community, whether you're talking about Arab Americans, you're talking about Asian Americans, you're talking about certainly African Americans, all people of all Jewish people, everybody. What makes that melting pot, that's what's happening here. That Ten of Pentacles is where we come together. And yes, I am using a very, I'm being deliberate about that. It's called the Golden Lear for those of you who collect decks. So yes, I'm being very deliberate about the imagery that I'm using today. All right, y'all. Let's close this out. Anything else, Spirit, on this? That people who are either transgendered or impacted by it should know we have the Lovers. I love that. I feel like that is a direct message. This is about divine unity. And in this context, and the question that I just asked, I think it is, Spirit is saying they're with you. All right? They're with all of us. But this is divine union. And we have to remember that ultimately, no matter what we are seeing playing out with these bad actors, that there is a higher cause and a higher calling. And for those who are feeling under attack, who are feeling the fear, who are feeling that first card that we got, that Eight of Cups, like I just want to go away and hide, and I'm afraid to show up and be who I am. Look for where you get, in addition to your faith, holding on to your faith, but look for where you get support. Look for places where you can continue to be supported, even if it means you've got to go a little underground right now to get that. But although I do see leadership coming around those issues in the future. So we're going to be okay with this. It is not going to be easy for any of us. Based on race, based on gender, based on sexual preference. Women, of course, still reproductive rights and being repressed and being told, that we can't advance in the workplace, that everything now is supposed to come down to this small minority of white men who want to reign supreme over everybody. Truly, 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 the clock is ticking on that, you all. So be aware of that. All right, that's what I got today. I wish you an absolute wonderful day. Please remember, we got to keep our chins up. Closing out, I have to thank the incredible group of people who joined me on this Friday for the first Spiritual Politics private Zoom session. Man, oh man, what a phenomenal group of people. Deeply, like, it just all areas of expertise and perspectives, and the way people came together and coalesced and showed support and shared ideas. And my soul was just so fed. I am going to do it again next month. So keep your eye out for that. We'll talk about that soon, and I hope that you can join me. It was truly worthwhile, and I think it's something that serves a very definite purpose at this point in our time collectively. So more of that to come. All right, you all, take really good care of yourselves. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.